On today's episode of the Elite Realty Group Podcast, we are going to bust the 4 biggest myths about real estate in 2025. This is one episode you do not want to miss. Hang on, y'all. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elite Realty Group Podcast, where we give you the most up-to-date, relevant real estate information you're going to find anywhere on the planet. You are going to get it right here. I'm Mike Elkins, your host, with my co-host, Dave Elkins. We are with Elite Realty Group in Morristown, Tennessee. Again, glad to be hanging out with you guys. Whatever you're watching or listening to us on, make sure you like the video, share the podcast, do whatever you got to do to help us literally spread this information around the world. With that being said, my partner in crime, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really, really good. Ready to go. Ready to bust these myths.
Yeah, these are some good ones that we're going to talk about. I think we got some good talking points today.
There's no doubt about it. And we found out, being in real estate for a while now, several years, and being able to do a podcast like this, but being able to help a whole lot of people, answer a whole lot of questions, field a whole lot of calls. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of myths that are out there about real estate.
Yeah, and we kind of forget about these things because we're in it a lot, and
Absolutely.
so we kind of it's good to just kind of step back for a minute and talk about these things.
Absolutely, it is. Again, real estate. We say this a lot on different, I guess maybe shows that we do, lives we do, podcasts we do. Again, and just in general conversation, but real estate is intriguing to people. It's something that people, more than I think a lot of us think, but they kind of stay up on the game. Like what's going on, what's happening. But we get these questions a lot of times about, hey, I heard this or I heard that. And a lot of times it is some of the things we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a myth.
Right.
Because I would say, and I think you will agree with me here on this, there are a lot of self-appointed gurus.
Absolutely.
That are out there. You know what I'm saying?
We are not trying to be one of those people.
Oh,
we are just trying to give you factual information.
Absolutely. And so, again, because so many people claim to know so much about the real estate industry, that causes these myths. You know what I'm saying? It causes these myths. Also, it's some things that when you start looking into myths, I don't think it's people just out there putting out false information to say, but I think it's like, well, this is how I did it in 1965,
right?
Or this is what happened in 2008, or those kind of things. Right. This is what my neighbor did, and it's things like that kind of people take a thought and make it a fact,
right?
Just because we think something or we say it enough, that doesn't necessarily make it the truth.
Right. Big. That's what I'm going to say. Big thing you just said right there is that, when your parents bought their house in 96,
right,
it's a little bit different
I agree.
Today than what it was, the market, I'm saying, in 1996. So obviously the market has changed.
No doubt about it. I mean, and it's constantly changing. It's ever evolving. It's moving the whole entire time. Before I got into real estate, I would have never thought there was so much depth and width and everything that goes into this market that makes it, again, it's constantly changing. You got to stay up on it. That's why we're bringing you the Elite Realty Group Podcast, so you can stay up on the information. We're going to talk about today the 4 biggest myths that's happening in real estate in 2025. We're going to bust those for you. But I will tell you, this is good information. Not because we're giving it.
Right.
This is good information. All right. So let's dive into these. We've got them 1 through 4, not necessarily in any particular order, but let's dive into them because I really think the first one that we're going to talk about, I honestly feel like it's one of the biggest myths that are out there. So if you're looking to buy a home in 2025, you could have been because you've been told you had to. Again, it was the way your parents did it, your grandparents did it. But you've been saving up for that down payment for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about the economic situation that's happening in these United States of America right now, it's not easy to save money because everything costs an arm and a leg.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't go try to buy eggs or gas. Right? That's what we're going to say.
Right.
But everything's expensive. It makes it super hard for the average American to put money back.
Yeah.
Especially put a lot of money back to buy a house with, okay? So myth number one, we're going to bust in this real estate market in 2025. Myth number one is you do not have to have a 20% down payment to purchase a house. Everybody thinks I got to have at least 20% down to buy a house in 2025. I've been saving for 5 years, 10 years, 2 months, 8 months, and I just can't get to that 20% because house prices keep going up.
Right.
The price of the house keeps going, which makes my down payment
go up more
and more and more. Yeah. I can't get to that 20%. That is myth. Number one, we are busting.
Yeah.
Tell the people, my friend, some options that they have to bust that myth. That's a fact. You don't need 20% to buy a house in 2025.
Right. You absolutely do not have to have 20% down to buy a house.
No.
So they are zero money down loans.
Hear that one more time.
Yeah, let's repeat that. Rewind. There is zero money down loans that are available.
Sure.
Okay. So there's different requirements. We're going to say this. There's loans available. You have to qualify for those loans.
Correct.
Each loan has got different qualifications. There's FHA loans, which are 3.5% down.
Mm-hmm.
There's conventional loans that have little to no money down.
Sure.
Conventional loans. So again, we tell people this all the time. Check with a lender and see what you qualify for. Okay.
Right.
But you do not have to have 20% down. Now, we're going to get some hate for this. You can go ahead and know this.
We always do.
Is it a bad thing to have 20% down? Not at all. Like if you are the one who wants to save because you want to, that's okay.
That's right.
Like it's okay to save up so you don't maybe have to have the PMI insurance and all this other stuff. But if you think you have to, that's a different story. That's what we're talking about. You are not required. You do not have to. There's zero money down loans available. Check with the lender in your area and find out what do you need to do to qualify for one of those loans.
You touched on something that I think we need to dive into a little bit more. You said you have to qualify, meaning the person buying the house has to qualify. The loans are available. Okay,
right,
like they're out there. They're available to you. A little bit of research, a little bit of time spending with a professional. You're going to find out which one of those you can get. The qualifications for those loans, it's going to be based upon a credit score. You're going to have a certain credit score. Now, let's go there for just a moment.
Bust that myth, yeah, because I'm getting ready. You already hear people saying, "Well, yeah, if I've got an 830 credit score, of course they'll give me a no money down loan."
Well, I was going to dive into. I'll let you talk more about the score, but my thought on that was going to be: there may be people out there watching right now. You don't have the credit score, but at the same point in time, there are lenders, credit repair people, whatever, that can help you get to where you need that credit score to be.
Right.
To get those loans, to be able to qualify for those loans. Yeah. So you have to be able to qualify. You have to have a credit score that can be worked on and improved quicker than you think. Yeah. The second thing I want to tell you about is you do have to qualify, and they call this your debt to income. Okay. Like you have to have your finances in order. Right. Okay. That's what I'm going to say because it's a broad conversation. And we could go a whole long way on that, but your debt to income has to be in order, meaning you got to have some things in line. Your house payment can't be more than a certain percentage of your total debt out.
And each loan is different.
Sure.
Those.
That's what I was going to say. That's why sit down and talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. You're going to be able to see all these options, see what you qualify for, what do we need to move around, and what do we need to get. But the 20%, you don't have to have that. You also alluded to, and I think we already touched base more, it is just naturally known, y'all. So for the hate we get to this, I hope you watch till we get finished. It is natural. If you pay more money down, your payment's going to be less.
Right,
okay, we fully understand that.
Let's use common sense.
It's not that you can't pay it down.
Right.
You want to save and pay. But there's a lot of people that are out there right now that they think that's a must.
Right.
Like I have to do that. You don't have to do that. Okay.
Yeah, right.
We always put this disclaimer out. There's not a blanket we can throw over really the answer to any real estate question.
Yeah.
Your financial situation, your living situation, your needs, your wants for you, your family, whoever's going to be a part of this real estate purchase, that's got to be weighed out individually.
Right.
Okay. I cannot tell you what is right for you to do, and nobody can. You get the facts, you weigh the information, you compare apples to apples. If it's right for you, ladies and gentlemen, it's right.
Mm-hmm.
If it's wrong for you, it's wrong. It does not matter what anyone else thinks about that.
Right.
It's a myth, though. Let's bust the myth here. First bust of the day. We're busting the myth of the 20% down payment. You don't have to have that. There's anywhere, again, from 0% down loans and up. Yeah. Research for yourself which one is best for your financial situation, and you just may be able to become a homeowner in 2025 if that situation is right for you. Anything else to say about
I really feel like we could talk about this for an hour.
A long time.
Because there's so much to it. But again, if you don't hear anything else we said through all that, we might ramble sometimes, but listen to the part where we said, talk to a local lender in your area and find out what do you have to do to qualify for certain types of loans.
That's exactly right.
That's it in a nutshell.
Myth number 1 is busted. You do not need a 20% down payment to purchase a house in 2025. I'm going to toss it to you. You tell us the myth number 2 we're going to bust.
So number 2 is, and I feel like, again, we talk about this every single show, and we have talked about this for years now.
Whole podcast on this. Right?
Is that the real estate market is going to crash in 2025. That is not necessarily true. Now, a lot of the experts are saying now that we are showing a stable. So the market is showing some stability.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we've been talking about this for a while, is that the market is coming back to what we consider a normal real estate market. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's different. This market is different than when the crash was in 2008.
Absolutely.
Okay. The supply and demand is still there. Okay.
Yes.
2008, when the real estate market crashed, literally anybody was able to go buy a house. Okay.
What we just talked about with that credit score,
yes,
it was out the window.
It was out the window.
If you had a pulse, not a credit score, a pulse, you could get a house.
You could get a house, and you could name your price.
Yes.
Like, that was one of the biggest problems. Again, talking to lenders who've been through this, they will tell you, like, it was just, you named the price for the house, it was going to appraise, whatever it needed. So people was getting in over their heads.
Correct.
The market is not doing that right now. Is prices up? Absolutely. But the market is up. Like I'm saying, real estate as a whole has went up since 2008. We're almost 20 years, beyond that market. So, but again, supply and demand is still there. That is what's keeping prices where they're at. That's what's making us have a stable market. We have inventory, we have buyers, all of this stuff. But again, the market is not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The real estate market will not crash in 2025.
In 2008, when you had the last real estate crash, there was it literally was a crash. Like, this happened in a week's period of time.
Yeah.
All of the destruction, all of the downfall, all of the waves come crashing down. It was a very quick thing that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. You look at what is happening in the real estate market today. There have been since that time. Now, look, I'm not for, I think you can be overregulated. I'll say that before I say this.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of regulations, safeguardings put in place because of that situation that happened, that probably has played into and prevented something like that from where we are right now from happening again. Yep. And like that, lump it, bump it, doesn't matter. That's the truth of why there is more stability in today's real estate market than there was in 2008. You had a super crash, prices crashing, everything crashing, and you just had this multitude of homes that just flooded the marketplace because The foreclosures was the ones that really just put us over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were so many homes that were foreclosed. It was devastating. It was a bad thing. While you're seeing foreclosures now, they're there. They're always going to be there. It ain't even in the same universe as what went on in 2008.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people sitting out there hoping that the real estate market is going to crash in 2025.
Yeah.
But with the data we're seeing now, again, the people that's supposed to be a whole lot smarter than me and you, they're now saying this is a stable of a real estate market that we have seen in a while.
Yeah.
The adjustments from the consumer side, that is people selling their houses while they're dragging behind a little bit. They've not quite 100% adjusted fully to what you can and can't do with prices. But most people that's buying a house that has to have a place to live, they've come to the realization this is what the rates and terms are going to be for the foreseeable future. We may tick up a little bit. We may tick down a little bit, but I have to have a house. I've got to make the adjustments.
Yep.
All of that added together is creating stability in the real estate market we're in right now.
Yep.
Thus, it's a myth as we sit here on February the 12th and record this podcast. It's a myth that there's going to be a crash in the real estate market in 2025. Make the adjustments you need to make, whether that's just what you're thinking or whether that's what you actually have to do. Make those adjustments, get in or get out, whatever you're trying to do in real estate in 2025. Get on with that because it ain't changing. Anything else about that?
No, again, I feel like we've talked about this till we're blue in the face, but like I heard a guy say this the other day and then we'll move on. So I heard a guy say, a lot of people has prices went up on everything else, even including real estate here in the last 3-4 years. Absolutely.
No doubt.
You just mentioned eggs. Eggs are insane right now.
Sure.
The price of it. But most of those people, that have bought recently in the last 3-4 years, they got really good interest rates, so like there's some really good interest rates which kept their payment low. Now the real estate market has still went up through those times.
Prices went up.
So even if they have to sell their house, they're going to have equity that they're not going to lose money on that house.
Right.
So just because of those things, just use a little bit of common sense. If you've owned your house for a while, you've got equity, you don't have to just lose your house. So I want people to hear that because I know prices are high right now on a lot of stuff, but don't just think, if you get yourself in a financial bind, don't just think I'm going to have to let my house go. Talk to somebody, a realtor in your area and say, hey, I've owned my house for 2 years and man, it's getting tough to pay my bills right now. So I might need to move on from this. Don't just think I got to let it go.
Just walk away.
See if you can make some money. There's a really good chance that you can.
Absolutely. And at the same point in time, lose it with nothing or lose it and get something.
Yeah, if I lose it and get $3,000, I'm taking that. You know what I mean?
I'm coming out to the good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I am coming out to the good. Again, as you've said, prices pretty much across the country have went up in value. These homes have went up. So we're talking to you today about some myths. We're busting the 4 biggest myths that are kind of out there about the real estate market in 2025. We have busted the first 2. Now let's bust the last 2. Now, before we bust this myth, again, it's what I said earlier in this podcast. Finances, when we start talking about finances and what's right and what's wrong, there is not a blanket we can throw to include every person that watches this show for it to be right with you. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know at what point. This is 15 minutes in. I hope you watch this to make sure you heard that, because we do get pushback on a lot of things we say because we split these up into small clips. But this is not a blanket statement, but this is a myth, okay? And you have a lot of people that are saying, well, you should wait for interest rates to drop before you jump into this real estate market, okay? That's a blanket statement, y'all. Like that's saying you got to do this. That's not true.
No.
Again, if it's right for you to buy and it's financially feasible for you to do, you need to make that decision. Okay. You don't need to hear somebody sitting in another part of the world saying, well, you need to wait. You need to wait. You need to wait. there have been people now, we can literally say this for a year and a half. There have been people waiting a year and a half for those rates to drop, and they've not.
Right.
And everything that we're seeing and hearing, they're gonna bounce. That's probably the best term I can give you in 2025. Rates are going to bounce up and down. Okay,
Right.
as the ball bounces up and down, so they're going to bounce. You should wait. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't. But literally, just to throw a blanket and tell everybody out there, you should wait till rates pop down. You might be waiting for a while.
I don't know. Maybe I should know this. Maybe you know this. But like, we came through in the real estate world, it was just a time of madness. I mean, like, realistically,
chaos.
Prices went insanely crazy. Interest rates was insanely low. I don't know right off the top of my head. Again, maybe you do, but I don't know when the last time you could get a 2%, a 1.75% interest rate.
In a while, friend.
So, I mean, I'm saying if you are sitting around waiting for that, it might be 20 years. Like, I don't know that. I don't know when that's going to come again, if that will come again. So like you just said, you can't throw a blanket on everything and say, this is what you got to do. I think I said this on our last week's podcast. If it's the house you want, if it fits your needs, if your budget will support it the way it is right now, it might be the right time for you to go ahead and buy a house. But that's an individual thing. I don't know your finances. You know your finances. Mm-hmm. Talk to somebody who loans money and see, can you afford this? And then you make that decision. Don't listen to what any guru, expert, blah, blah, blah is saying. If it's right for you, then that's your decision. It's right. Not mine to tell you yes or no.
That's right. Let's dive just a little bit deeper, okay? Just for a moment to put things into perspective here. Those rates, when we're talking about high ones, low twos, okay, like that's where I'm going at.
Yeah.
And I'll even just say all the way up through twos, mid threes.
Yeah.
Historic.
Great.
Historic. Once in a lifetime, historic lows. Okay. You hit the nail on the head. If you're waiting for that to come, historic.
Yeah.
It was a historical time to get those kind of rates. Like, it had never been done.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't doing that.
Right.
We could all be dead before that comes again. So like you said, we could be waiting.
Yeah.
So to blanket statement that, it's just not good advice.
Right.
It goes back to, y'all, if it's right for you, it's right. If it's wrong for you, it's wrong. You have to weigh the situation out on a personal basis to see, should you buy or should you wait?
Yeah.
All of y'all are smart people. You can figure that out when somebody looks at you and says your payment's $2,400. You know if you can afford it or not.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
So do what's right for you, for your living situation, for your circumstances. If you have a family, for your family, weigh that situation out for yourself. But it is a myth. But just blanketing the whole country by saying everybody ought to wait till interest rates go back down. It was historic. Okay. Yeah. You might be waiting for a while. You might be waiting for a while. And there's a good chance. If you wait for a while, that house you can buy for $350 today is going to be $450 when you do that. So you got to weigh it out. Okay.
Right.
You got to weigh it out. Here is number 4. Give it to us, man.
So I'm going to say it. So selling your house as is and still thinking that you can get the most amount of money.
Yes.
That is not true. Again, we came through a period where anything. That didn't matter. No. You could sell your house in any condition and still make pretty good money off of it. Right now, what we're seeing is that buyers are looking for move-in ready homes. That's what they're wanting.
Sure.
But the good news is they are willing to pay for that.
Absolutely.
So it's not like you're doing it and losing money. They are willing to pay good top dollar money if your house is move-in ready.
Yes.
So things to consider, like think of those little things. We say this a lot. Think about the little things that you can do that's going to make a difference. Painting, giving the house a fresh paint if it needs it inside, outside, wherever. Little small repairs, a toilet that runs all the time, Little things like that you can do that makes the house where somebody can literally just move into it,
Correct.
move their stuff. Painting is kind of specific. I'm saying a lot of people don't really care if you paint, but I'm just telling you from a realtor, it makes your house show better
Absolutely.
if it has fresh coat of paint. So keep those things in mind, little things that you can do, and don't try to overprice your home if it needs those repairs. Okay, if it needs something, you're going to have to adjust the price for it.
Yes.
You're still going to make probably good money. I'm saying just because your house needs painted, we ain't going to knock it 20 grand. Okay, but you probably need to make a small adjustment for those things. You got to think about this. When you put your house on the market, you are competing. You are in a competition. You are competing against every house in your price range in that market. So obviously, taking everything smart related out of it, and let's go back to common sense. If you are walking in a house and they're exactly the same price, they're exactly the same square footage, and they're next door neighbors to each other, if this house looks a whole lot better because it's done these fresh little updates, your house is probably going to sit there.
Correct.
So keep those things in your mind. But we are not in that time anymore where that you can just sell your home as is and you're going to make the best money for it.
Yeah, you have to price accordingly.
Yeah. And again, buyers are willing to pay. They are willing to pay if it's ready.
Yeah, if it's ready, they're going to pay.
Yeah.
Shameless plug for the agents here at Elite Realty Group, but we literally just had this conversation this morning, and this is something that you're probably going to be able to get this all over the country. I don't know a real estate agent that wouldn't do what I'm getting ready to do, but literally we were tasked this morning with going out and doing what we call annual real estate reviews. And we were tasked this morning to do 20 of those. Mm-hmm. That's literally where someone that does what we do on a daily basis literally just gives you an annual real estate review. We come in, look at your whole entire house. We tell you things like that. Like, hey, if you think about selling in 2025, here's some little things that I see that's going to help you. It's going to help you get more money for your house. Yeah. It's going to help you be able to raise that price, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of what I'm going to call help that's out there if you're thinking, well, I really don't know what to do, and I don't want to do it if it ain't going to be good. I don't want you to do it if it ain't going to be good.
Yeah.
But wherever you are, call a real estate agent that's a pro in your area. They're probably going to come in and do the same thing for you also, to be able to just have a conversation with you about, hey, this is what potentially could happen if you do these things. Again, you can't pricing today it's not been important. Like you really didn't have to pay attention in pricing over the last little bit in the real estate market because inventory was so low, which kept those home prices. You could do a lot. There was a lot of flexibility. Okay. Yeah. With the rise in inventory, stability, as it's been called, you're having to be more precise.
Yep.
You're having to be more, I've got to get this right. Because like you said, your competition is up.
Yeah.
Okay. It's up, and that's up across the country. Mm-hmm. You have more competition now. So we're no longer in those days that you could just throw a number.
Right.
If you really want to sell your house, you need to have someone to review those numbers with you. And again, don't just tell you what they think, show you what the market says about your house. And it's a myth. You can just put any price tag on there and people are still willing to pay you that number or above. That's a myth, y'all.
Yeah.
We can't live in that world no more. It's not real. So we can't live there. So what else about that? Anything about the myth number 4?
No, that's it. That's pretty much it.
So what we've done, we've busted 4 big myths for you today about real estate in 2025. Hopefully this information has been super good for you. Again, wherever you're watching, listening to this podcast, subscribe to our channel, follow us. We release one of these every Wednesday for your viewing or listening pleasure. And hopefully it's been some good information to you. Go back up and watch some previous episodes. There's some good information out there for you on that. As far as this episode, busting myths for real estate in 2025, that does it for us on this episode of the Elite Realty Group Podcast. We hope again that you guys will see us or hear from us again in the coming weeks on one of our upcoming episodes. For all of us at Elite Realty Group, Dave and I especially, you guys have a great rest of your day wherever you're watching or listening from. This has been the Elite Realty Group Podcast from your friends at Elite Realty Group in Morristown, Tennessee. Have a great day, y'all. Over and out.